This episode is brought to you by Geno's East of Chicago in Los Angeles. Founded in Chicago in 1966, now over 5 years in Los Angeles, in Sherman Oaks, they use the same recipes and ingredients they do in Chicago. It's like taking a trip to the Windy City without the cold weather. Get the authentic Chicago deep dish and thin crust tavern style pizza, or the great Italian beef and Italian beef Italian sausage combo sandwiches. Plus, there's 12 screens showing Chicago and LA sports. Have a genuine Chicago dog with all the toppings as you watch the Cubs, Sox, Dodgers, and Angels. No ketchup. Now available year-round. Check out the menu at genoseast.com. Lunch specials Monday through Friday until 2 p.m. Happy hour features selected wines and beers for $5 and $6 for food. Monday through Thursday, 3 to 6 p.m. Geno's East. Great food, great atmosphere, and great people. Sit back and relax. It's time for peanuts, popcorn, and Cracker Jacks. Hey, how's it going? I'm your host, Jeff Santo, and I'm here with my wife, Christie.
Hello, hello. So we were having lunch the other day after we went to the Noir City Film Festival. We were having lunch at the Roosevelt Hotel, famous Roosevelt Hotel, with Peter Conte and his beautiful wife, Florencia. And Peter, of course, is so excited about his Yankees, and he thinks that Judge is going to blow out
Barry Bonds' home run record. That's a lot. That's 73. I don't know if I see that happening.
It'll be pretty exciting. Anyways, but then right after that, the article comes out about these torpedo bats.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Wow, the torpedo bats, man. Something else. And I didn't realize that they have been around for a minute. Like, no one talked about it in spring training. So the idea of the torpedo bat is there's extra wood.
Is it really extra wood? Because it looks like they're kind of pulling it from the end and bringing it more towards the sweet spot.
Yeah, more girth around the middle.
Yeah, that's what she said.
I guess they say it's about a silver dollar size, that if you hit in that area is where it's really you're going to get your bang.
So just get down to the bare facts. It's legal, right?
Yes.
It's better for the hitter, which is going to be exciting to watch because it's been all about the pitchers, and now it's going to be exciting.
I think so.
And what I also like about it is that it appears, I haven't found any information other than an image, but it appears that Louisville Slugger is making these bats.
They are. Which
is good, because I would really hate for a new brand to come out and then, like, Louisville Slugger, it becomes like ancient history.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But Louisville Slugger, they are producing these bats. And the hitter feels like they're talking about they have more whip with this bat. And I think that gives more bat speed. And that's where you see, like, it looks like a torpedo. It almost looks like a bowling pin, but also a torpedo where it's thick.
Or like a Zeppelin.
Like a Zeppelin. And so, but just think, if you hit in that area, it also could help where a ball that you might not hit, miss it by a millimeter, will fall off, right? Mm-hmm. So you're staying alive, they're talking about. And they're also saying the launch angle could go in all different directions because of that. We'll find out. We'll see how many players are going to be using this. It's going to be cool to watch.
And, it's not going to be good for everybody, I think that there's also going to be a learning curve while using it. Cody Bellinger only had 18 home runs last year.
Yeah, I don't know if he used it the whole time. Like I said, we don't know how often he used it, but maybe they were experimenting with it. And I think now you're going to see guys just going for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
You want to tell the people who our guest is?
Yeah, Ron Cey. I got to tell you, can't wait for you to hear this interview. Ron Cey, I met him at the Northside Fantasy Baseball Camp back in the end of January, early February, and what a cool guy. He's from the same area as my father in Washington, and there's just a lot of similarities there, but most of all, he's such a authentic baseball man, and he's a serious guy. Like, now I know why those Dodgers kick some butt, man. Can't wait for you to hear that. And my surprise crackerjack call is to my dear friend Peter Nestos over there at Spiro's Deli. I'm going to call him at the Deli and see what he thinks about the Cubs this year.
And it's going to be a long episode. So, if you need to pause it, come right on back and listen to the full episode. And I don't know how many of you actually stick around to the end of the episode. Jeff does a quote each episode. So stick around to the end to hear that.
Enjoy the show.
Enjoy the show.
Hans Christian Andersen said, "Where words fail, music speaks." At Joey's Song, we believe truer words were never spoken. Our mission at Joey's Song is to raise money to fund the desperately needed research to find treatments and cures for the devastating and intractable epilepsies that are robbing futures and taking lives. Between 50 and 65 million people worldwide have epilepsy, and 1/3 of those folks, approximately 20 million, cannot find relief from their seizures through any known treatments or surgery. Joey's Song is dedicated to and in the memory of Joey Gamal, who died in 2010, just shy of his 5th birthday after battling a rare form of epilepsy his entire life. Every year, Joey's Song brings together Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, Grammy and Emmy winners, and top 40 hitmakers for a series of one-of-a-kind concerts that have helped us be a part of over $1.75 million raised over the last decade. Artists from bands like Cheap Trick, The Bangles, The Go-Go's, Garbage, The Goo Goo Dolls, Toto, and countless others all help us give hope to the families fighting epilepsy today. To find out more about Joey's Song and stay up to date on our next one-of-a-kind show, visit joeysong.org and join our mailing list or follow us on the social media channels of your choice. Thanks for your time, and thanks for supporting Joey's Song, and thanks for listening to Peanuts, Popcorn, and Cracker Jacks.
My special guest is a World Series MVP, a 6-time All-Star, hit over 300 home runs, drove in over 1,100 runs, played in over 2,000 games, anchored the hot corner for one of the best infields in Major League Baseball history. He has the nickname of a supervillain, but he's a real superhero out here in Los Angeles, a Dodger legend and a super guy who I had the fortunate opportunity to meet at the Northside Fantasy Baseball Camp a few months ago. Cub fans, you love him for what he gave us in 1984. Ron Cey, so great to have you on the show, man.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you having me on.
When I was going through those stats, reading it off, I couldn't help but think about my dad, except for that World Series MVP. You guys had a lot of similar statistics and a lot of history. Birthplace, Washington, same name, same number. You were 8 years younger. Talk about that, man.
I was growing up in Tacoma, Washington. I had a dream that became a reality, and that being a Major League Baseball player. I was able to, see that through. And along the way, I think when I was like 15, 16 years old, I was playing in a state Babe Ruth tournament, and I was featured in an article written about some of the players that, might have an opportunity to have a career at this. And they compared me with Ron Santo. And that was my first real introduction to somebody wanting to take it to that level, because Ron was already in Chicago, an established player, doing his thing. And I was saying, well, it's really great that you want to compare me to that. But, I've got work to do. I've got to make sure that there is reason for comparison. So I was drafted out of high school by the New York Mets. I had a baseball scholarship to Washington State over in Pullman. And because of the Vietnam War and other things, the choices that I had were really down to one, which is go to school and be protected by it. And so I went over there, and we did not have freshman eligibility for NCAA sports back then. We had to play freshman sports, and then our first year would be sophomore, and then our draft rules for Major League Baseball drafting were different back then. So I could sign after my sophomore year, and I did with the Dodgers. And that's, I got my start. And, that's where I ran into a number of the players that we went through the minor league system together that formed the nucleus of the Dodgers for 10 years.
Wow, man. Now, when you grew up in Tacoma, that's about an hour outside of Seattle, correct?
It's about 30 minutes, 35.
30, no, very, very, okay, not far away.
About 30 miles, yeah.
Yeah. And did you know, like when you were a kid growing up, did your dad play sports? How'd you get into baseball? And when did you know that baseball was your sport?
Uh, well, my dad pushed me through the front door of the South End Boys Club when I was, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7 years old. I became, a kid that, was spending all my extra time over at the boys club, and I was playing all the sports, and I ended up being an integral part of the boys club because I was opening the doors, I was handing out towels, I was sweeping the floors, I was doing all kinds of things over there, answering the phone, taking memberships, you name it. And it was just a lot of fun, especially in the summertime. I would ride my bike, which is about 5 miles from the boys club over there, and spend the whole day there, and had a good group of guys that, I could hang out with. But that's where I kind of had my epiphany. We were playing a game on the backfield, the number one field behind the boys club, on a Saturday, 10 a.m., 70 degrees outside, beautiful day, and walked to the plate the first time. And I said to myself, wouldn't this be great if I could play this game every day? And that's kind of where it started. That became, I was destined. I was putting all my eggs in one basket. And yeah, you're not supposed to do that, but I did, and it worked out.
Well, I think that's how it works. I think my dad did the same thing. I mean, once you find something and you got to go for it. There is no plan B with guys like you. Did you also played other sports? You were like lettered 9 times?
We had a 3-year high school back then, not 4 years. We had a junior high school that took you through grades 7 through 9, and then your high school started 10, 11, 12. So yeah, I made all city in every sport. I lettered 9. I had 3 letters in basketball, football, and baseball. I grew up playing them all. Fortunately, I was good enough to play them all. We had a basketball team my junior year that was second ranked, big schools, went through the regular season undefeated. I was an all-star. We ended up losing in the first game of the state tournament, and the team that we lost to ended up going to the championship game and losing to the number 1 ranked team. Football, I led the league in rushing, baseball, home runs, RBIs, average, different years. But, I was lucky that I could do that. I think I learned a great deal athletically from the other sports on how to use my baseball skills. And baseball really was the choice. I had no inclination that, football would last. Although I could have played, I was asked to play and I turned it down. And actually the same for basketball on a small scale. I was the city's leading scorer my senior year after we had that very dominant team in basketball my junior year. But it wasn't in the plans. It was all about baseball. And I ran into a guy over at Washington State named Chuck Bobo Brayton, who recruited me and really believed in me and pushed me. And so that's one of the reasons why I went over there. Plus, I had a number of other guys from the local area that went to Washington State, and we had a really good team my sophomore year, my first and only year of varsity baseball. We only played 38 games. We were 29-9. And we just couldn't get enough games in because of the weather. So that was a deterrent. But I was able to get enough done because we were one of the better teams in the Pac-8 back then. And all those regional tournaments they have for college baseball now didn't exist. We had to win the Pac-8 title to go directly to Omaha and play in the College World Series. And we ended up behind Stanford and USC. At one point in time during the year, we were ranked number 8, and Stanford and USC were 1-2. So there was only going to be one team that was going to be able to go on to the College World Series, and we beat both of them. And it turned out that USC won the conference championship and then went on to Omaha and won the College World Series.
Yeah, wow. Now, you said you got drafted out of high school by the Mets, and you turned that down because of Vietnam, right? Or you wanted to go to college and say, give you a couple more years?
I would have made the wrong choice because I would not have had a deferment it wouldn't have mattered. I would have been classified 1A, and I would have gone to basic training and AIT and been gone to Vietnam. And I couldn't allow that to happen. Although after I signed, I did go back to school because I still needed the protection, but I missed all spring training for 2 years. And I couldn't pursue my career the way that it was. So eventually, the only way out was to enlist. And I became a reserve medic in the Army. And I served my time. And that's how I got around being able to pursue my career and serve my country at the same time.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. You know, back then, you guys, my dad too, were you just three sports. I mean, were you a tailback? Was that running back?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could move and you could plow through, huh?
Well, I had a nickname called Scooter. I got it. Penguin and Scooter, you know, there's a resemblance there, I guess. But that's what I was called. You know, actually, even Chuck Brayton was the one who nicknamed me the Penguin when I was in college. And most of the time he called me Scooter because all my friends were calling me Scooter. So I had kind of a double nickname at the time. And then after I signed and started playing professionally, and when I ran into Lasorda, then he felt that Penguin was appropriate, and so he felt that he was the one who named me and took credit for it. But I had to remind him over and over and over. But you're not the originator. That you're not going to take credit for that.
That's great. That mindset you guys had, though, you were always playing sports. You had such a drive. Today, you don't find many guys playing three different sports in high school. It's a different ball game.
Yeah, I am in awe of the young kids that are playing high school sports today. I don't think that I could have been the player in football, been the player in basketball that I was in today's game. It would have taken, you know, year-round work to achieve that. I may have been able to make the team, but I don't think that I would have been the player. You need to devote. You need to become singular, and that's what I was trying to do. You know, when I went off to college, I really did want to continue to play football, but I sustained an injury, my kind of a fluke injury, my senior year to my knee, and I couldn't afford that to have that happen. And I did have a basketball opportunity to play too, freshman basketball, which I probably could have done, but I would have had to end it there. So I didn't want to take someone else's time in terms of development that I would have taken if I would have been on that team. I wanted to concentrate on baseball and make sure that, you know, I had my ducks in order and all lined up, because I knew that my opportunity, at least the way I was planning it, was going to come after my sophomore year, and I had to make the most of it.
Yeah. And in high school, you guys always played three sports. That's just who you were. You're playing the sport that you could play. And you felt that helped you moving forward, playing all this?
Oh, yeah. I learned all kinds of different things as far as my athletic skills and how, you know, there's in football, it was a balance of power throughout my body, using my legs, setting up. It's the same in hitting. With baseball, you have to set up from legs up, and you have to have a sound lower body, and it has to work and has to be synchronized because it's a mechanism, and it works. With basketball, it was quickness, so that helped, I think, with fielding, hand and eye coordination. I could shoot. I led the league in free throw shooting every year in high school, once in field goal percentage. So yeah, I think that's probably the second best thing I did as an athlete was be able to shoot the basketball. But hitting was there's nothing like hitting a baseball. The sound of it, the feel of it, the adulation that you have from, you know, really crushing the ball at times, getting big hits at times. You fail a lot in baseball. You know, it goes hand in hand with perseverance. You know, you've got to learn to accept that, you know, from an average standpoint, you know, you fail 7 out of 10 times and you're considered great. You're in the 1 percentile. And yet you have to find a way to be productive. And where I was productive was, my number one role in baseball was to drive in runs, as many as I could. And I did that by, hitting a lot of home runs and getting other hits. But that was my primary objective, is drive as many runs as I possibly could.
Yeah, you sure did, man. And when you got to the bigs, your first full season was 1973.
Correct.
And the next year, you're in the World Series. I mean, what a quick ascension to becoming the best of baseball. Was the air a little thin up there? Were you aware of that, like that quick ascension?
Yeah, but we had a really good group of guys. I might be one of a rare number. I won and was an all-star at every level of baseball that I played in, except Double-A baseball, because I got hurt, actually. I had missed spring training. I got hurt swinging, and it cost me half a season. And I won it Instructional League, Winter Ball, A-Ball, Double-A, Triple-A, World Series. I played in two amateur World Series when I was growing up, when I was 18 to 19. My minor league resume, I mean, I hit 30 home runs in the minor leagues. I drove in 100 runs twice. It still wasn't good enough. I had to prove myself one more time. Today, kids don't drive in 100 runs in the minor leagues. They don't hit 30 home runs because they're not in that level of classification long enough, because they're going to move you along as fast as they can. They're going to get you there as fast as they can. It doesn't work the same way. We were nurtured. You had to basically pass the test. Did you accomplish A-ball? Did you accomplish Double-A ball, Triple-A? Same thing. And if you didn't get an A, chances are you might have to redo it. And even when I did it 2 years in a row, I had to go back and do it another time. And it may have worked to my advantage, because the next year I became a little bit more selective, and I walked like 120 times in 130 games, and primarily because of what I had done the year before, because I'd driven in 123 runs and hit 32 home runs and hit 31 in Spokane. And I had to go do it all over. And actually, at the end of that year in 71, that's when I got a call up. That was my first call up to the major leagues, and the Dodgers were in a pennant race. No surprise, but I didn't get really an opportunity to play. I just went up there and sat and watched, and the next year I thought that I was going to be the starting third baseman, but things didn't work out that way, and I had to go back and do it again. So I drove in another 100 runs. I walked over 100 times. We went to the first ever AAA World Series in Hawaii. And after that was completed, our team went back, and we had 10 guys get called up from our AAA club that formed the nucleus of the Dodgers for the next 10 years, right after that AAA World Series in Hawaii.
Holy cow. And in 73, then, did you know that year you were there to stay, Ron?
Oh yeah, there was no. I mean, I got a PhD in AAA baseball,
right?
And I, there was no other place. What else do you want me to do?
Right.
It was my time, and it was our time, and I believe it was in June of 1973. That was the beginning of the infield. They had to find a place for Garvey because he didn't pan out at third base. They tried to put him in the outfield. That didn't work. But they liked his bat, and so they had to find a place for him to play. And Bill Buckner was playing first base at the time, and they had gone to Buck and asked him, do you think you'd be okay with moving back out to left field, because we'd really like to get Garvey's bat in the lineup? And Billy was more athletic. He was a wide receiver in high school, and he was going to play football at USC along with Bobby Valentine, who was also the number one pick in that 1968 draft on the first level of it.
A lot of guys came out in 1968 in that draft, huh?
We had the greatest, by fact, once again. We had 11 players in one draft that made it and had careers in the big league. Not a cup of coffee, careers. It has been heralded as the number one greatest draft in the history of Major League Baseball. the June draft. Yeah, it's been documented over and over again. It was phenomenal. And
who are those 10 guys that came up with you in '73?
Well, Buck and I and Garvey and Valentine, Tom Paciorek, Bob Gallagher, Sandy Vance, Doyle Alexander, Joe Ferguson, Tim Johnson, who managed Toronto and played in the big leagues too. It was endless. And there were a lot of guys in there that didn't make it, that were good enough to make it. It's just really hard to.
Yeah.
We had so many guys, but we all, Lasorda had a group in Ogden, Utah in 1968. And that was, I think it was Vance, Buckner, Valentine, Garvey, Paciorek. And then we had our club, which went to A-ball for 2 months. We had Doyle Alexander, Joe Ferguson, and myself that made it.
Yeah.
We were nurtured by Lasorda, and he had us under his wing, and he worked with us, and we spent a lot of time with him. And so, when, it was our time to graduate and go to the big leagues, he graduated too, and he became the third base coach for 4 years. And then in 1977, that was his rookie managerial year. And the next 2 years, we go to the World Series.
Yeah. What was he like? Obviously, he was a main character in your elevation and everything. What's your feeling about Tommy Lasorda?
Well, I mean, look, he was a father figure to us, I think, in a sense. He worked really hard. I mean, trying to, get us in a position to take advantage of our opportunity. And he did. We did it. I mean, we worked really hard. We spent a lot of time on the field. He threw hours and hours and hours of batting practice to us. He hit ground ball after ground ball after ground ball to us. We spent a lot of time with him off the field. And where that changed really was when, he became a manager. We knew then that, his time had to be redirected a little bit. He wasn't going to have as much time to spend with us. We all understood that. But, we were pretty much family. And it was just an incredible situation that we had in Los Angeles. We had a terrific group of young guys that really understood the challenges and responsibilities, not only to the Dodgers, but to ourselves and what we were trying to make and have happen. And then, like I said, in 1973, sometime in June of '73, that was the first game that the infield started to play together. And it was Garvey, Lopes, Russell, and myself. We played 8.5 years together. We went to 4 World Series. We were world champions. Every member of the infield was a multiple-time All-Star. By fact, there isn't anything that even came close to us. I think the longest running infield behind us could have very well have been the Cubs, which would have been Billy Williams, Glenn Becker, Kessinger, and Santo.
Yeah, I think they played. Ernie and Billy was out now. Yeah, Ernie, Beck, Kess, and my dad. Yeah.
Yeah, and so and when you look at it and you say, my God, these guys pretty much ruined the Dodger farm system. There wasn't a player that was able to, make our club that was an infielder. And if you were to say, well, we're going to grade out how these minor league organizations are and rank them, and you say, well, the Dodgers haven't produced an infielder in 8.5 years. And it wasn't fair. All these other guys that were really good had to go find another team to play for because we had overwhelming success. I'm not going to tell you that we were the greatest infield of all time, but by fact, we were the most successful, and there's really no argument.
Yeah, there isn't. And in '74, when you got there and you played Oakland, that was a close series. That could have went either way.
Well, when you look at it, you say we lost 4 games to 1. And we were our second year. We won 95 games our rookie year against the Big Red Machine under the old alignment, where the only teams that move forward are your divisional winners. So, we got nipped right at the end. We lost by 2.5 games to the Big Red Machine. And then the next year, Walter Alston had said after we'd lost that final game in Oakland, and we lost 3 one-run games. It was close, but we they were a veteran team. They were going for a three-peat. They had a terrific nucleus of veteran players. They were better, but we were on the map. And Walter held a very close, short, closed-door meeting after we lost the last game, and it was short and sweet. Essentially, he said, I don't want you guys to feel bad. You lost to a great team out there. They've been the king of baseball for, the last few years. We're going to come back and we're going to do this again and again. And we did. And, we just had a terrific understanding of what we needed to get done. And, and plus, once again, when I mentioned, my upbringing in the organization, we won at every level.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't translate to success in the major leagues, then something's wrong. And it did. We felt we were the best, and we proved that we were the best time and time again, year after year. And we had the best team in baseball to play against many of those years, which was the Big Red Machine. And they won back-to-back world championships in 75 and 76. I told Joe Morgan in conversation a number of different times, I thought the 76 Reds were the best team I faced in my career. And when you stand up to the likes of Bench, Perez, Morgan, Concepcion, Rose, Foster, Geronimo, and Griffey, that's a lot. That's a handful, And those guys were dominant, and we were right on their tail. And if you look at it, it pretty much says who wins the National League West, which is Dodgers, Reds, is going to the World Series. All due respect to the National League East.
Yeah, no, for sure. And those years, remember them well because, I was a little older and we were playing wiffle ball and doing all the stances, man.
Yeah.
I love that stance you had. That was really compact, man. I mean,
it was compact. Yeah.
Signature. And
we had a great time with it. I did too. I did the same thing you did with wiffle ball. Yeah. I was Mantle, I was Williams, I was Berra, I was Maris. I'm saying that because they're all left-handed. When I played wiffle ball, I batted left-handed.
Right, we all did. We switched. There's no doubt, right?
Yeah,
had all the helmets too. But those Dodger teams and the Reds. Now you get to 77 in Tommy's first year.
Yeah,
and you get there again, and you're playing the Yankees, which those series were just phenomenal. We all watched them, man. Everyone watched the World Series, and I can still remember them today. Reggie's home runs, and what was that like? You're back there now the second time, and you guys lost. You lost again, but again a hard fought series.
Well, 77. We were in New York. We're down 3-2. We feel like we've got a shot. Let's just go out there and do what we do. And we ran into a guy who had, career night in the World Series. And when that happens, it was a steamroller. And anything you can do about it. He had 3 home runs off 3 different pitchers. And it was just his night.
Right.
It didn't matter. And it was unfortunate because, we get if we were able to have gotten past that game there, pretty much when you get to game 7, it's all hands on deck and anything can happen. The next year was more devastating because we had an interference call in game 4 that cost us the game. If they would have had instant replay, the interference call would have been withheld, and we would have walked off with a 3-0 lead after 6 innings. As it turns out, they got 2 runs that inning that were added on. They ended up tying the game in the bottom of the 8th with 2 outs. We ended up losing in 12 innings, and we went from a 3-1 lead, and pretty much it being over with, to a tie, and it shoved us in the wrong direction, and we didn't recover. And I look back at that as the single most disappointing event in my career. It cost us a world championship. I don't dwell over it, but it hurts, and it always will hurt. That got away. It got away.
Yeah.
And you can't let those get away. And, so now we're wrapped up after this. 1979, we had just an absolutely horrible year. We had 8 guys on the disabled list, I think, out of our 25-man roster to open the season, and we got off to an abysmal start. Never really recovered. We were in last place in our division at the All-Star break. And then we started getting guys filtering back in, playing again. We ended up having the best record in the National League, possibly baseball, the second half of the season, but we weren't going anywhere. We were just too far behind. That really hurt. And then we were able to recover. And then, of course, we had a new rival now in the National League West, Houston Astros, with J.R. Richards and Nolan Ryan. And so they all of a sudden popped up and were a challenger, a contender. In 81 was kind of the same deal again. And that's the year that, we had a partial season. I think we played maybe, I don't know. I played a half a season as it was. I got hurt. The only time I ever went on the DL, I went on in September. I got hit by a pitch in the arm, broke a bone. Wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to make the playoffs, and didn't make the first round, but I was able to recover. And that's the year that we went on and won the World Championship in 81, and I became the MVP. 82, we now had another contender invited in. It was the Atlanta Braves. And we lost on the last day of the season by 1 game down to the wire. Joe Morgan, who was playing for the Giants, we were up in San Francisco, and he hit a two-run homer, I think, maybe a 3-run home run in the 7th inning, bottom of the 7th inning with 2 outs, and took us down. Otherwise, we might have been in another one. We'd had a 1-game playoff with Atlanta. As it turned out, we didn't get that because Joe Morgan hurt us. So there was some payback there a little bit. But yeah, we were always on the verge of making it to our destination. We were one of those teams that, our goal this year is to go to the World Series, not improve on last year, not get out of the cellar, not be a 500 team. For those teams who were thinking that, then we were well above that. And we knew that we had an advantage because we were out to be on top of the world. We weren't.
Yeah. You guys,
that was it.
That 81 series going, you knew you had to win that one, man. You guys were going to win that no matter what, right? That was another great World Series, and you got the MVP. Yeah. And now, did that satisfy you? Was that like the biggest moment going, I got my ring?
Oh, sure. Well, it was also the last game that the fabled infield played together, as it turned out. We were also the first 4 hitters in that lineup that night. Lopes, Russell, Garvey, myself. I guess that is significant historically to maybe people like me, people like us, because that was the nucleus of the team for 8.5 years.
Yeah.
Everything ran through us. We were the core. And we had other great players too. I mean, we had Dusty Baker, we had Reggie Smith, we had Rick Monday, Kenny Landreau. That was kind of the nucleus. Pedro Guerrero. I mean, that's every one of our. We only had 1 player on our 1981 championship team, World Championship team, that did not make an all-star team in his career.
And you guys knew each other in the minor leagues, so you guys have been together forever. Talk about a family. That really is one. You'll never see something like that happen again. There's just no way.
It's basically not going to happen because of the system.
Yep.
I believe that there are, because we did it, 4 players who could do that again, and talent-wise. But you have obstacles. Your team has to be really good. You have to perform individually really well. You got to be one of those guys. You got to stay injury-free.
Yep.
8.5 years. All of those things fell in sync.
That's amazing. And I got to say, my dad's team too, a lot of those guys, they stayed injury-free. My father, played all those games, and they just couldn't get over the hump. Again, they didn't have, until 69, it was just one team was winning and getting in, right? So
yeah, right. Well, one of the things that in my rookie year, 73, back then they tried to start teams that played in the Midwestern and the East Coast, tried to start games on the West Coast because of weather.
Right.
We wouldn't have as many rainouts or cold outs or whatever. So the Cubs came to Dodger Stadium early, I think, sometime in April. And they came in and they were just tearing the cover off the ball. They looked like the best team in baseball first month of the season, right? And, and then I don't think we went to Chicago until like June, and they had cooled off a bit. And, then I saw, the heat and the humidity and, the diverse weather, because when I eventually got there, we didn't have lights like they do now. And, we had a lot of rain delays, a lot of weather, wind blowing left, blowing right, blowing in, blowing out, just blowing all the time, and messing things up. And we had a study my first year there that gauged the weather and the wind direction and everything else. 80% of the games that we played in Wrigley Field that year, the wind either blew across or in.
Yeah, right.
So it wasn't hitter's paradise like everybody thought it was at all.
Not at all.
And so when I got there and then I saw, one day it might snow, the other next day it might be 95 degrees with 100% humidity. And I'm saying, this is going to wear these guys out.
Yeah.
And it did. I honestly believe, and even when I got there, I was aware of the fact that day games are going to wear you out, especially in those conditions. And I really do think that it had a lot to do because those guys were pretty good. I mean, when you put those guys together, you put those names together, and, there's a lot of terrific players there. Yeah. And Ferguson Jenkins won 20 games, I don't know how many times there, right?
6 times, yeah.
And I can tell you that the first game I ever played there, I had an entourage. My wife was from Chicago.
Oh, wow.
I told my traveling secretary, Billy Deli, that I was going to have a heavy pass list, and he said, don't worry about it. So he put 20 members of my family over the first base dugout. And a lot of them had never seen me play. And my first at bat facing Ferguson Jenkins, I hit a ball over across the street in Waveland Avenue.
Oh, wow.
And so, now I may have shot up the expectations from doing that, but they were just absolutely in awe of, what happened on first at bat. We won the game. I had another huge game there. I think possibly the next year, I drove in 7 runs in a game that Andy Messerschmidt shut out the Cubs 10-0, and I saved a shutout for him by making a defensive play, big time play. So it was kind of my day and a little bit of his day, and the family was just having a great time with it all. And of course, we were on top of the world with our club. We're always in contention.
Did 73, obviously you ran into my dad. You had to run by him after that home run. Did he say anything to you? Like, hey, man, nice hit, rookie.
Well, I don't recall whether it was, I think it was 73, my first year.
Okay.
When we had, they had just finished up batting practice behind the cage. And I have a picture of Ron being on the Cubs side of the batting cage, which means third base side. And I'm on the right side, and we both kind of turned back in behind the cage. And I have a picture of it with the two of us. So you got 2 Rons, 2 number 10s, 2 number third basemen from the state of Washington playing together. And quick little story to go back a little bit. When I was Washington State's minor league player of the year in 1971, where I had the big year in Spokane, there was a banquet in Seattle in the offseason, which I was invited to, and to receive this award. And I didn't know who else was going to be there. I didn't know who was going to be emceeing it. But I get up to Seattle, and now it's time for me to receive my award. And who is it that presents me with the award? Ron Santo.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it went full circle a number of different times. And when I went to Chicago, Ron was broadcasting games, and I used to run into him a lot. We used to chat quite a bit. And then after I retired from baseball and was working for the Dodgers, when the Cubs would come to town, I'd go up to the press box and we'd chat, talk about old times. And it was just great that, we didn't have a lot of guys from the state of Washington that had made it in professional baseball back then. So the fact that I could be compared to Ron Santo and live up to that comparison. Best of both worlds.
Yeah, man, it was great when we were talking at the Northside Fantasy Camp, and you told me that you wanted to wear number 10 in honor of him playing there when you got to Chicago, and then Bull Durham had it.
Right.
You took 11, but that was something. I didn't know that, and that was so cool to hear.
Yeah, well, Larry Boa, Larry was over there a year before I was, and actually Sandberg was playing third base in that rookie year. And I figured if Larry couldn't get number 10, I didn't want to jump Leon and jump over Larry to get the number. Although I can honestly say that I was really disappointed that I didn't get it. I just, rode with it. I didn't want to ruffle anything, side venture again, Shohei Ohtani, when he came to the Dodgers, there was a relief pitcher that had the number that Ohtani wanted. And so, he basically purchased the number from him. And he bought the guy's wife a Porsche. Okay. I wasn't in the position to buy a Porsche back then for the guy's wife because I wanted the number. But it kind of tells you where baseball has gone these days. But right. There's so many comparisons that were part of us.
Yeah.
And if you look at Baseball Register and you go to where it says, what are your career averages over 162 game schedule, which is how they did it. Because I was always kind of curious, a guy plays half a year, 3/4 of a year. How do you come to terms with, what does a guy normally do in a year? Mm-hmm. And they made it kind of simple. I said I should have thought of that myself. 162 games. Now it's going to be, it's going to be a little off, but it's going to be in the ballpark. And if you take our names away and you put the numbers up, they're interchangeable.
Yeah, it's so. And at third base too, Ron.
Yeah,
you played a stellar third base, like my father. But you had Mike Schmidt winning some Gold Gloves over you, right?
I do, and he owes me a couple.
He does.
Yeah, in 1979, I set a new fielding record for third basemen in the National League. I made 9 errors and led the league in fielding. Here it is. I figure, okay, 9 errors. Mike Schmidt, 23. Who wins the Gold Glove? Mike Schmidt.
Right.
That hurt.
Yeah.
That hurt.
Yeah, man.
When I was in Chicago, 1984.
Yeah.
I led the league in fielding at third base. I played 60 games, 60 airless consecutive games. It was the second longest streak in National League history. I missed it by 3 games and went another 17 games before I made another error and did not win the Gold Glove.
Yeah. Wow. It's just crazy how that goes. It's subjective.
Yeah.
On that.
Well, today they have metrics.
Right.
And they pretty much tell you, who is in the running. You don't give me your opinion of who it is.
Yeah.
These are factually, here's your choices.
Yeah.
And I ran into another year during my career when they plugged in the metrics. And I was the number 1 ranked third baseman in a year that I did not lead the league in fielding. You just don't have to lead the league in fielding. There's got to be other things attached to it. But it was really disappointing. And you know what? Other people have stories too. Don Money, who played third base for the Milwaukee Brewers in the mid-'70s, had the best fielding statistical year in Major League history. And he made 5 errors. 5. 5. I don't even know how that's possible because Milwaukee had a horrible infield too. How do I know? I took ground balls in the 75 All-Star game and said, Jesus, I had to put on catching gear to be out here taking these ground balls. There's so many divots that it was just not a great field. He made 5 errors and he did not win the Gold Glove. Brooks Robinson did. And I saw him years ago, as a matter of fact, at the Major League Draft at Studio 42 in New York. I was representing the Dodgers with Tom Lasorda, and I saw Don Money, and I had this burning question that I'd wanted to ask him for like 30 years. I'm saying, Don, I said, 1975, you made 5 errors. You did not win the Gold Glove. Were you upset? Was I upset? He said, the first game that we played against the Orioles, I was yelling out of the dugout at Brooksy saying, "Give me my gold glove! Give me my gold glove!"
Oh man, right. There were I looked up my dad's stat too. When the years he didn't get it, some years he were better years and still didn't get it those years.
You know what? Whether I can prove it or not, whether it was true or not, they used to say that guys that wore Rawlings gloves, those were the guys who were going to win it most of the time. Okay. And then the other part of it was I was convinced that this was partly true too, because I had one of my coaches, come through, and apparently there was a different mechanism for voting back there too. And he said, "Who do you think's the best fielding second baseman this year?" And I'm saying, "You don't know who the best fielding second baseman is? And you're asking me?" And I believe this about writers too. I think there's a click in there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
They want to be right. They want to be on the, the good side of things. They want you to think that they know what they're doing. And I think that that plays out. Here's another one that goes back even further than this. Joe DiMaggio, Ted Williams. Joe DiMaggio has a hitting streak the same year that Ted Williams hits 401 or 403 or whatever. Who was the most valuable player? Who won the MVP that year? Mm-hmm. And why? Joe DiMaggio beat out Ted Williams that year. And the reason that he won was because of one of the Boston beat writers had an issue with Ted Williams and didn't even put him on the ballot. If he would have put him on the ballot, he would have won.
Yeah.
So you have to be professional about this. You may not like the guy,
right?
But you have to do what's right. Yeah. And when I saw that happening, hey, look, it happens in everyday life too.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So, it just was kind of a shame that it came down to that, because, hey, look, Ted Williams lost, 4 years to service.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what those four, right. I mean, he already hit 500 and some home runs.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a lifetime batting average of 344. I wish, unbelievable.
What kind of glove did you use?
I used a Wilson and McGregor most of the time.
Yeah, so that's why you didn't use. My dad used a Wilson 2000. So you're right, that Rawlings Gold glove. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got right there.
Yeah. I mean, look, you can tell me that that's it didn't happen. Well, all I know is most of the guys that I saw who win Gold gloves were Rawlings. You know?
Yeah. When you came to Chicago and the '84 season, you led the team in home runs, RBIs. What was that year like for you? Coming from, leaving LA and now you're in Chicago, you're kind of acclimated now. Did that feel just as good as your LA years?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, it's my second most disappointing thing that happened in baseball. Yeah. Obviously, losing in the World Series is a step above losing in the NLCS. So that's kind of how I gauge those things. I actually got hit by a pitch, and it was nasty. Hit me right here on this bone right here, and it really was challenging. We had to Tony Garofalo, our trainer, we had to come up with some kind of a protective device. It was a struggle, and for some way, I put together a second half. With Sutcliffe winning the Cy Young Award and Sandberg winning the MVP. And having me be the leader in home runs and RBIs and fifth in the league, I think, in both, and be the top fielding third baseman National League. That's a good year. It really hurt. We had San Diego. I think we were the better team. It got away from us. I think that we would have been a better matchup for Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
In the series. And I think that, we had a real good shot. They had a terrific team. They are very deserving of being the world champions. But I think we would have been a bigger challenge for them.
Yeah, and I think the whole lights thing screwed you up too, because you should have had 3 at home. You were the best team, best record in the National League. You should have had that third game. They had the third game. Now, running back into your LA teammate, Steve Garvey, what was that like for you, him doing what he did to us?
He had a moment, you know, and, it was obviously a big hit and got them back into the series. But we made a big mistake. We had Rick Sutcliffe lined up to pitch game 4. And for some reason, they decided to, well, I know the reason. They wanted to save him for game 1 of the World Series.
Mm.
And my understanding, it wasn't really Dallas's choice, but he went with the staff on it, apparently. And when Gary Matthews told me that Sutcliffe is not pitching game 4, to me, psychologically, it opened the door for the Padres, and it gave them a breather, saying, oh my God, we don't have to beat Sutcliffe today, and then win another game on top of it.
Yeah.
It opened the door. And I alluded to it earlier, when you get to, game 5, best of 5, game 7, best of 7, I don't care who you got out there. Crazy things can happen.
Yeah, no doubt.
And you don't want to have this game on the line. We should have put the stake in him with Sutcliffe in game 4 because he'd shut him out in game 1.
Yep.
And he was 16-1 on the season. Bury him. Don't give him a don't
doubt.
let them think they have a chance.
Yeah.
Take them out right now. We'll worry about game 1 in the World Series later. Let's just get there. And it was a mistake.
That was a great collection of guys from other teams that came together for that 84 season. It was my favorite team, that because I was in college at the time, so we were always watching every single game that year, and that was tough.
Yeah, it really was. Dallas. I give Dallas a great deal of credit. He had been a general manager and a manager, and when he came over from Philadelphia, there was a tremendous opportunity. This was a brand new start. The Tribune Company had just purchased the team. We were going to have new money to spend. And, he actually, in our conversations about coming over to Chicago, he'd given me a voice. And it was incredible. I had an opportunity. How much of a voice? I don't really know, but I do know that I had a say-so in Sutcliffe and Lopes being on that team. And it worked out. I gave Dallas raving reviews about both of them, and he was able to secure both of those people and helped us tremendously. But it was also about the identity of the team. We had a spring training game. We had a game over in Scottsdale against the Giants, and bus drives us over, a short drive, about 20 minutes from Mesa. Get over there, and bus driver is now taking the bags off the bus, and he's just, throwing them out there. So everybody just grabs a bag and, takes them in rather than waiting for your own. And that way we get out of the way. And, I was standing there and watching it, and I said, well, here comes a Dodger bag. Here comes a Pittsburgh bag. Here comes a Yankee bag. Here comes a Philly bag. Here comes a San Diego bag. Here comes a San Francisco Jet, and so on and so forth. And I'm saying, we must be a co-op team. I must have invited a player from each team to come over and play this game. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. And I got back to Mesa after the game, and I left a note for Dallas. I said, I'd like to talk to you tomorrow at some point if you can handle that. And he did. And he came into the clubhouse the next morning, and I wasn't playing in this particular game. And he said, you know what? He says, when the game starts, why don't you and I take a chair? We'll go down in the bullpen and we'll talk. I said, great, let's do that. So, I explained to him, I said, look, if we're trying to establish a new identity here, we need to know who we are. And based on what I saw yesterday, I said, we look like a co-op team. That was kind of embarrassing. We are the Chicago Cubs. We ought to travel like the Chicago Cubs. They ought to know that when we come to the ballpark that they're facing the Chicago Cubs. And he flabbergasted. He said, oh my God. And so we ended our conversation. He thanked me. And when I came into the clubhouse the next morning, we had our brand new Cub bags in our traveling locker. And Yosh was upset because he had to break these bags out early. And him dressed it all white with a white hat with a cigar. And he said, I didn't want to have to break these bags out until we went home for the regular season. And so I just listened to him moan and groan, and and here we are. So actually, that was the year that we had a new clubhouse in '84, and we also started traveling charter. And Dallas got us Cub Blazers to wear on the road.
Oh.
So it did strike a nerve, a good one, because when we were walking through the airport,
yeah,
people knew that Chicago Cubs were in town.
Oh, right on. I love it, man. That's outstanding. Great story. Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that one, man.
So I was very pleased with Dallas. You know, he promised me a lot, and he told me that he was going to make things happen in a short period of time. He needed to. And so there was the opportunity for Sutcliffe, the opportunity for Dennis Eckersley. And he brought a nucleus of players from the Phillies over here that he knew was available because he knew what their plans were. And we had a Philly-laden outfield with Matthews, Denier, and Moreland. We had Boa and Sandberg in the infield. And we had a number of relief pitchers, on our club too, along with Dick Ruthven, who was a starter. So, yeah, we kind of raided the Phillies, but Dallas did a great job for us.
Yeah. That unbelievable year. And yeah, just a tough ending. But, again, the elements of Wrigley Field, basically, with the lights and all that. So things happen. Why you didn't get game 3 also. But I love the game 4 if Sutcliffe went. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Getting back to your team in LA, I almost think that they should put the Hall of Fame now because it's going to be hard to put guys in the Hall of Fame going forward. I don't know if anyone's going to have the consistency. You look at your career and Steve Garvey's career for that decade, you're the best at your positions. Top 2, you got Mike Schmidt.
Right.
Does that get you a little bit thinking that you got to have certain stats and it held my dad out until he passed away, right? He didn't get in until then. Because I look at Steve Garvey and you and I go, God, those are Hall of Famers in my day. I knew them. I knew what they did every year. What do you think about that? And should they put the infield in? Look at something like that.
Well, I can answer all that. I was first of all, let's get to Ron, and I was very disappointed that it had to be posthumous.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't want to be in posthumously anything. Okay. It doesn't give me an opportunity to celebrate with my family at the due time. My family may say, oh, geez, that's so great that you finally put him in. I feel the same way about Pete Rose. Posthumously, it doesn't work for me at all. I just think it's, it's a nice gesture after the fact, but it's not good enough. As far as, being in the Hall of Fame, I didn't get a sniff, and there's not much I could do about that. I will tell you something that it's easily available. Anybody can look it up. I'm the highest ranked Los Angeles Dodger infielder all time.
Mm-hmm.
I was the number 1 player on my team in Los Angeles 6 years, 6 of the 10. I was second, third, and fourth twice. The fourth twice came at the bookends of my career, my rookie and last year. 6 years, I'm the number 1 ranked player on my team, and it always seemed to go to somebody else.
Hmm.
I am the 3rd ranked infielder all time in the organization, behind Pee Wee Reese and Jackie Robinson.
Man.
Okay. I'm the only member that is a member of the Dodgers all-time team and the LA Dodgers all-time team in the everyday 8. The infield for Brooklyn / all-time is Campanella, Hodges, Robinson, Reese, myself. LA Dodgers, Piazza, Garvey, Lopes, Wills, myself. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm the only one. And yet we have a shrine for the infield of Garvey, Lopes, Russell, and myself in Cooperstown. We don't have one at Dodger Stadium.
Well, you do have one in Cooperstown for you guys.
We do.
Yeah.
We have a shrine in Cooperstown, but we do not have it at Dodger Stadium.
Oh, man. God.
And I am finally going to be honored this coming summer, July 18th, I believe. It's the first game back after the All-Star break. I'm being enshrined as a legend. And so it took a long time for that to happen. Not exactly sure why that took so long, considering what I just told you.
Yeah.
And now I'm just happy that it's coming to fruition.
Oh, absolutely. Congratulations, Ron. Well deserved. And I got to tell you, man, just meeting you, it was so great to meet you at the fantasy camp. And that was so much fun to hear you guys tell stories and just be so open and free and serious, too. And one thing I loved about meeting you and getting to know you there, You are a serious guy, and I could see how you guys had those teams that won, man. You go at it every day, and I just love that competitiveness but how serious you are about what it takes to be what you became. And my dad was that same way. He got between those white lines and said no one was his friend. And, yeah.
Yeah, I get
and
it.
I wish like he parted more of that to us, but it's tough to do that to the kids. And I know for you with your son, he played AAA ball, right, Daniel?
Yeah, he got through AAA. Yeah.
And did you help him out? Did you help him on his evolution?
Yeah, I was like, the everyday parent, kids playing Little League, and I'm, taping the games. I used to watch them from center field because the fields were small. And I'd had a good look from dead center field in, just like the baseball camera that shows you the pitcher throwing to home plate in MLB games. So I got, to do all that through batting practice to him every Sunday when he was in high school. Went to all of his games, home and road, when he was going to Cal Berkeley in the Pac-10 back then. Yeah, it was, or maybe it was Pac-12. Anyway, I started in the Pac-8 and went to the Pac-10.
Yeah.
It went to the Pac-12, and now it doesn't exist anymore. It's
Yeah.
everybody went their ways, and 4 of those teams went to the Big Ten.
Yep.
So, but anyway, I worked with him a lot and spent a lot of time with him. And, he just felt like this wasn't something that was pleasing to him in the manner that it should. And, I supported his decision. I think he now still believes that, there were certain circumstances there that kept him from doing it. But I have no doubt that if things would have been just a tick different, that he would have had a career in baseball. And but it is what it is. And it was a great time. His best times, he remembers, Vero Beach, being there when he was 5, 6, 7 years old, and going to the Cubs and being in spring training and being in Wrigley Field every day with all the other kids that were horsing around. He loved it. He's got great memories from that.
I go back to it all the time, Ron. Growing up in the clubhouse, my brother and I did, because our father had us young. He was young.
Yeah.
And we got to experience that. And I always go back there. It's like it helps me get out of tough situations just to go back there and, know what I learned from the guys and just being an observer. And, I always felt it's tough. It's tough for the fathers that we watch that come from a different era and a different lifestyle to get that same mentality to rise to their level. Do you think that's part of it? I mean, obviously he got to AAA. He was close. What do you think the difference is?
He didn't like the lifestyle.
Okay.
Yeah, didn't like it at all. He didn't like hanging out at night. After the games. In the minor leagues. You got, what do you got? You got the hotel bar.
Yeah.
Till 2:00 in the morning at times. That got real old. It just I don't mean for it to sound the way that it might, but you have a lot of players from other countries, and you don't have the same educational system. And he went to a terrific university at Cal Berkeley, and you're in a different your sociological, economical upbringing, and it was just different and tough to try to make that mix. But that's kind of the long and short of it. There's nothing internally meant to degrade anything here. It's just a matter of there were upbringing differences and educational values and everything, and it was just different. Hard.
Yeah. It's a hard road. I mean, I always, you think you're going to be your father, because you love that environment, you love the people in it. I look at guys like you, and I've always looked up to them because there's a toughness there and a righteous one that I really liked, and it's stayed with me my whole life and helped me through a lot of difficult challenges that you try to get through.
Yeah.
And you talk about your wife, Fran. You guys have been together for a long time, huh?
Let's see here. It's coming up 54 years in September.
And you got some secret sauce on both ends. The
I don't know how she made it. I really don't. I really don't know how she made
Come
it.
on.
No, I'm serious. I mean,
Really?
it's yeah. Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean,
Okay.
there's a lot of demand. When
Yeah.
we were, the whole traveling situation back then. When we went on a road trip, we didn't go for a week. We went 10 days, 2 weeks,
Yes.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like hey, let's go. We're going to be on the road for a week and then you're back home. You're out gone. It's a lot different. Time goes by pretty fast. And I will also tell you that wives today, they travel a lot.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, hey, the family goes on a road trip,
Right.
road trip,
Yeah.
here we go,
We went
and
to maybe
so
one
it's
or
just
two.
different, I mean,
Yeah.
you probably saw because the Cubs and the Dodgers opened up in Japan.
Yeah.
They were over there about a week in advance, to get acclimated. But they also had a lot of activities. And guess what? The families went, man. If you've paid any attention to Instagram, you saw these guys going to here and there and everywhere. And, the families along and they're taking pictures of everything. And so, yeah, it was great. I mean, what a resounding start to the season. The Dodgers are fully invested in Japan these days.
Yeah.
And they have gotten an enormous amount of wealth from it because of all the new sponsors that we have, because we've got so many Japanese players on our team. They're on all the billboards over there. So Cubs Dodger start to the season. Resounding success.
Oh, I got up early for that one, and I got to tell you, I got really pissed off when they took Shoto out in 4 innings. Have you ever? I think has that ever happened in opening day, taking your starter with a no in after 4?
Oh, well, look, this is another part of baseball today that is the different game. The only thing that's the same about today's game is they play 9 innings. The bases are 90 feet apart, 60 feet, 6 inches to home plate to the pitching mound, 3 outs an inning. That's about it. The rest of it, they stack their lineups with their best hitters at the top of the lineup so they can roll them over and have them have more opportunities, which, does make a lot of sense. There were prerequisites when you played old school baseball as to, what was necessary to hit in the first spot, second spot, and throughout. And, when you went to the DH in the American League, which is now universal, you had speed at the bottom of the lineup as well in the ninth spot where the pitcher would hit. So it would roll over to the top of the lineup where you had most likely speed. So, yeah, it was a different managerial game, bunting, hitting and running.
It was baseball is what it was, right? And could Tommy manage today? Could he deal with this?
Well, first of all, I think you'd probably have, when all these new things broke out, it's like, oh, so now you're using what we affectionately call the people who work in the front office who write the lineups, the Ivy League nerds. They essentially have this lineup, in theory, on the desk when the manager rolls in. Everybody in baseball who really understands baseball knows that, the metrics write the lineup, guys. The manager doesn't go in there and write the lineup anymore. It doesn't happen. And part of it was I could have seen guys on our team that we called the everyday 8. Okay.
Love that. Sounds like a movie.
Dusty Baker's not playing tonight. Reggie Smith's not playing tonight. They would have been knocking on Lasorda's door.
Yeah.
And they would have said, who is it that's playing tonight that's better than I am?
Right.
Okay. I don't care who's pitching, who's better than I am that's going to face this guy tonight. And these guys, this is what they deal with. However, I think that's changed a lot in a very short period of time, too. Because if you remember in the beginning, you'd say, oh, my God, there's a different lineup. Guys are hitting in different positions every night. There's a number 2 hitter, different guy. Number 4 hitter, different guy. Number 6 hitter, different guy. When you look at it now, the metrics are still running the show, which is kind of confusing for people when you try to say, how can I buy into this? Yeah. When now you're telling me that Shohei Ohtani leads off, Mookie Betts bats second, Freddie Freeman bats third every single night. And this is supposed to be, like, who's the best available guy to hit here against this guy? Doesn't this guy have a bad pitcher that kind of owns him? Why is he still playing? When they were sticking guys in the lineup that were going, 0 for 20, against this one guy, and trying to convince me that this was their guy that they got in the trade to face left-handed pitching. You're going to have a tough time convincing me that this is the right guy when he's 0 for 20 and struck out 15 times, which is part of the game today too.
Yeah.
Tell him he's the best available player for this guy.
God, wow.
It's different. It's different. You get the bigger bases now.
Yeah.
You got the one that I dislike. The shift is gone. Thank God.
Thank God. Yeah.
And that was probably, if there was a number one, this is all wrong thing, that would have been at the top of my list.
Yeah, for sure.
And now that they have, this new thing that they've had the last X number of years, the runner at second base in extra innings. I hate that.
Yeah.
And you don't have it in the postseason. So why do you do it in the regular season? Why? Because they want to shorten the game.
Yeah.
They don't want to use as many arms in the bullpen. And yet, on average, if you do the metrics, I think it says that the average team plays 10% of their games are extra inning games. So that's 16 games. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And when you have all the divisions and all the different wild card spots and all the teams going down to the last few days of the last week in the season, trying to determine whether they're in the playoffs or not, I certainly don't want to be giving them cookies out there to get games over with because of the sake of the time of the game. I want them to earn it.
Yeah.
How would you like to be the guy that goes out there and there's a runner at second base, an inherited runner that you didn't earn, and the guy gets a broken bat single over the first baseman's head and the game's over with?
Awful. Yeah.
I mean, come on. It's not right. I don't like it.
It's not. And it's also, back in the day when we knew the lineups, right? You don't know the lineups anymore. And it's tough, man. You watch managers pull people and you're like, why? Why would you bring someone in when you're winning? You're winning and he's controlling the game. And you got a pitch count that is okay. Give another inning. But it is the game and it's hard to watch. And it's hard to compete if you're not the Dodgers or the Yankees. Of a handful of teams today, I think, like the Cubs, you got to make some gut decisions that are different than analytics to actually compete.
Well, you better hope that your manager has the ability to do that because, we only had, they brought Dusty Baker back. Okay. Houston did, to kind of solve up that issue here a few years ago. He's now gone again. You have Bruce Bochy that's with Texas. Those are your old school managers. Mm-hmm. Who probably stayed and were asked to come back because they were going to have actually a say in what goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Otherwise, you don't. You are in this system, and this is why you're there. You manage the clubhouse. You manage the players. The rest of it is pretty much predetermined because these guys watch so much tape. The analytics are there for you. So if you have, as an example, a team that comes in, you're at home, you're a left-handed relief pitcher, you probably already know who the guys are that you would probably be facing, So you don't need to be told that, hey, you're going to be used here. Yeah, I know when I'm going to be used.
Yeah.
And you are used in that spot because you do get them out. And that's why the next guy is up and the next guy after that. And then, of course, you go to the closer, and the closer is going to face them all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, I think there's too much manipulation going on during the game. There was a game here when Dusty was back in Houston with the Astros, and I believe it was in the playoffs, and Zach Greinke was in a jam, and I love Zach Greinke. He was here for a long time. He and Kershaw were two number ones, and they both could field. They both could field their position. They could hit. I think Zach won a Silver Slugger one year, but he was just so cerebral. They were challenging each other. They were competing against each other, and it was all friendly and good. And so, Zach is now gone. He's in Houston, and there is a situation that comes up, and it's about the middle of the game, and he's got runners on base, and he's struggling a bit. And so Dusty goes out to talk to him. And the announcer is saying, well, okay, it looks like, Dusty Baker's coming out here. Certainly it's about time. Greinke's been struggling, and the analytics are saying that you probably should be taking this guy out, and they got the right-hander and the left-hander down there. So let's see which way he goes. And he walks out there, and he has a brief conversation with Zach, and Zach convinces him that he's good. And Dusty turns around and walks back into the dugout. The announcer is saying, oh, my God, he's going to have to pay a price for this. He's leaving him in there, And I'm saying, okay, this is when you got to go with your experience, your gut feeling, your player. You got to go with Zach, who knows he's not going to be able to just talk his way out of it. He's going to deal with you. He's going to tell you up front, I can get out of this. I got this. He got out of it.
Yep.
And I stood up after this, and I'm saying, all right, that was great. Dusty would not have been able to do that if he wasn't who he was and have a say-so about what was going on. So there are times where, you just have to go against what the analytics say.
You have to. You have to. If you want to really you compete. If you're not, like I said, the Dodgers or the Yankees, you have to. Last, do you think, real quick, is baseball going to put itself in a box and then it's in trouble? Like everything just seems like be put in a box.
I think it's in trouble.
Yeah.
I think it's in trouble.
What helps it?
Well, first of all, ESPN is in its last year of broadcasting baseball. They're pulling out after this year. They will not be doing baseball games, Major League Baseball games. That's going to be a big void. I think that there's a lot of small market teams out there that are getting overwhelmed with the amount of money that the teams in the upper echelon are spending to secure their teams. And of course, the Dodgers are at the top of that list. So are the Mets. You could put the Yankees in there too. But the Dodgers really, blew it wide open here 2 springs ago in the offseason when they spent $1.4 billion. They spent more than everybody else combined in Major League Baseball. And a lot of those are deferred payments. They have $1 billion in deferred payments right now, long-term contracts. You have, I think, 7 players on the Dodgers who have above $100 million contracts with deferred payments. How does that look for your farm system to be able to break in to that? Not good. I think that there doesn't seem to be a level of which some of these people, the teams that spend that kind of money, the excise tax on the overspending is incredible. I think the Dodgers might, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have the metrics on this one, but let's just say roughly it's $100 million they spent on the overpayment. That's 4 high-priced players that don't play. That's 4 $25 million players that aren't even on the roster. That's a lot of money. I don't know where it ends. I mean, look, I think the Mets overspent for Soto. I don't know where the end is. 4 years ago or so, when Mike Trout became, a $400 million player, to have it go to 760 now. I mean, are we even remotely in the neighborhood of our first $1 billion player?
Yeah, right.
Does that sound? I mean, is that sound right?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't sound right. And plus, the prices and the expenditures that are being handed down to the fans are, I just think that they're I don't know.
I'd almost like to see teams that are the smaller markets just go small ball. Go back to the old way and compete that way so we can have some fun watching an underdog beat a giant. It's kind of like David and Goliath that it's going to turn into.
Well, I don't know how that's going to turn out, but I have heard that the smaller market teams are probably not going to be able to endure this much longer. There was supposed to be a competitive balance.
Mm-hmm.
This money that was being paid for you going, above, whatever levels they go to, $200 million in salary a year, whatever there was, they pay a tax on. And I don't have the number. So $100 million may have been too high, but it's the idea of which they're willing to spend the money. And the little guy is always going to get trampled on. There's whatever those payments are that go to those four teams. I think it's the bottom four teams. Not exactly sure about that either, but it's not enough to maintain the competitive balance.
Mm-hmm. Yep. My last question here for you, Ron. Thank you for coming on. This has been amazing. Playing in LA, in Hollywood, did you develop relationships with the Hollywood community? What was that like? Because that stars love watching ball players, and ball players love going to the movies. What was that like actually in Hollywood playing here?
It was an unbelievable experience. The people that I've met that have been friends, to be able to call Frank Sinatra a friend, and hang out with Frank Sinatra and be friends with Fleetwood Mac. I'm the Penguin, and their logo is the Penguin. So that was a match. All the other people that, I ran into that I have forgotten about over the years, to have Hollywood Stars Night here, rub elbows with these people, have them come into the clubhouse, have Frank Sinatra sing the national anthem. Opening day, 1977, sort of his first day as managing in the big leagues. It's endless. It was great. We didn't have nearly the security issues that we have today at the ballpark. They would come in. Rickles and Sinatra would be in the clubhouse a lot. We just had a great time with it. It was such an amazing experience. And, it was just another thing that added to our big blue bullseye on our forehead for people to, want to beat us worse than they want to beat anybody else. And we had our own airplane, our own private plane back then, which made that blue dot in your forehead a little bit larger because everybody else was flying commercial.
Right.
It was fantastic. There couldn't have been a better place that I could have played. And the O'Malley family was responsible for the beginning of all of that. And I'm eternally grateful for all of that.
Oh man. And you did a cameo in Columbo, right?
Yeah, Peter Falk. Yeah, he took me under his wing. I had a greater appreciation of how they do their work. I was on the lot for, I don't know, 2-3 days. And the way that they film all these things and the amount of detail they put into it was incredible. And I got to hang out with Peter Falk for a couple days. Went to his trailer and shot the crap and ran into him a few times after that. And I've had so many incredible opportunities, met so many people that I would have never met otherwise. The funny thing about being a celebrity and out here is because we have every form of entertainment alive that lives and breathes here. We got movies, we got music, we got television, we got sports, we got it all.
Yeah.
Sure. And they're all out here at one point and another. And the funny thing about it is, in the beginning, I used to introduce myself, and I remember having Dustin Hoffman in the owner's suite one night, and it was the first time I was going to meet him. And I walked over and I said, "Hi, Dustin, Ron Cey." And he starts laughing, and he says, "I know who you are." And so from that point on, there was really no introduction necessary anymore. It's like Johnny Carson, it's like, I was watching him all the time, and I'd be in another room, and his mannerisms, and what his voice sounds like. And it's the same for them when it comes to you, because they've watched you on TV, they watch the games, they've been at the ballpark,
totally.
And so it's like, I already know you. You're my second best friend ever already, And it was just funny, the whole thing that took place, and it's like it happened all the time. I remember the first time that Fleetwood Mac came into the clubhouse. Christine and Stevie didn't come because back then, but they brought a director's chair in for me. We didn't have, we had cubicles back then, and you just kind of sat in your locker on the stool that was part of the locker room. And so they brought me in a director's chair and had Penguin on the back of it. So now they created the stir, and now everybody else is going to Nobi saying, we want director's chairs with their names on the back of it, like the Penguins got it, So, it was, like I said, we had Sinatra and Rickles in the clubhouse a lot. And Rickles used to come in, and he used to go from locker to locker when he first walked through the door and say, hey, Monday, nice play on that fly ball last night. Is your head still hurt from missing that play? And then he'd say, nice hitting last night with the bases loaded. What were you thinking about? And he would rip everybody apart like you'd expect he would, right? And everybody is hysterical. And so one time we got word that, hey, Rickles and Sinatra are coming in tonight. And Rickles would come in and he'd do this thing every single time, just rip everybody apart. So when he came through the door, Monday and I went up behind him and kind of got into place. And in the center of the locker room, there's a big laundry bin, right? Where guys throw all their wet clothes, their T-shirts and other things. So we took him and dumped him head first into the dirty laundry bin. And everybody was out of their minds laughing. We finally got back at him a little bit.
Oh, that's great, man. I got to tell you, you would be great today in a Taylor Sheridan Western. I mean, seriously.
I love that guy.
Your seriousness, you would be perfect for him. So, but anyway, man, thank you so much for being on. This was outstanding.
Yeah, really, I appreciate it. I had a great time with it.
Yeah, and I hope I see you next year at Northside Fantasy Baseball Camp.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, Jeff.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks,
I might see you out at the stadium for the Cub game. See you, pal.
All right. Be good.
Check out a collection of movies by Santo Films now streaming. This Old Cub, the critically acclaimed documentary about Ron Santo and his Hall of Fame career while battling type 1 diabetes in a time when diabetes was unknown to most. It is available on Tubi, iTunes, and Amazon. Jake's Corner, a family drama starring Richard Tyson, Diane Ladd, and Danny Trejo. And Liar's Poker, a whodunit featuring Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Then there's Dead in 5 Heartbeats, an off-the-grid motorcycle club film with real motorcycle clubs produced by Sonny Barger Productions and Santo Films. All films were written, produced, and directed by Jeff Santo. Watch now on Tubi, iTunes, and Amazon.
Crackerjack.
This call
Spiro's.
is being recorded.
Jackie! Spiro's. Jackie! It's me. Mo, what are you doing?
You're my crackerjack. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good, Jeffrey. How are you, bud?
Good, man. Hey, I wanted to call you about the Cubbies. I got to get the 411 from you.
What do you think? What do you think?
Tell me, what do you think the record's going to be this year with the Cubs?
I think we're going to be close to 90 wins. The last couple years we've been sitting at 80-some wins. The last two seasons, a little bit about 500. Middle of the road, and we, nothing to show for it in the playoffs. This year we addressed some issues. We got an MVP candidate in Tucker. That was a bold move by them. Yes. Look at the last 3 years of his stats. He's been MVP, one of the top positional players. 27 years old. I think maybe he just turned 28.
Yeah.
Coming into his prime. Wrigley Field. I don't know. We should have one of the best offenses in baseball.
Holy cow! You're you're being really optimistic, man. Wow.
No, I'm being
all right.
serious.
Okay. What about the pitching and relief? Pitching.
That's another story. I think our starting pitching is decent with Shota and Steele and that new kid Boyd's okay. You know,
should have went longer the other day.
Yeah. We can talk about that too. He pitched 5 shutout innings and then he pulled them in after the 6th and then they got smoked. I mean, you can't lose games like that.
Yeah. No.
Huh?
No. They pulled him after the 5th, didn't they? Was it the 6th?
Yeah, after the 5th.
Yeah.
They pulled him after the 5th.
Yeah.
That's too long to go with a bullpen.
I think so too, man. I've been saying that. Yeah. Yeah.
So
what about the bat? What do you think of Swanson and Horner? I think they got to have big years for us to really get there.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, the reason why we signed Swanson was because of his defense. You know what I mean? He was one of the best shortstops on the market at the time. Horner's been solid for us. Homegrown product. I'm more concerned about our bullpen. Obviously Hoyer's going for it. With the move he made to get Tucker and, getting a quality reliever in Presley, a 2-time All-Star, just a solid back of the end guy. We just got to see how it's going to play out. And they just traded, I think within the last couple of days, the kid they got back from the Bellinger deal, they traded him to Baltimore, for cash. So they should have plenty of money to spend now. There's no reason. Going in, we had like the 12th highest payroll in Major League Baseball. Players win championships.
There's a big chasm though from that 12 to number 1. So.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. So we're the third largest market. We're the third largest market.
Let me shift here though, because I want to get to this quick. When we're number 12, basically, it's in the rankings too. I mean, you're on the bubble of a wild card. We got to win our division, but more importantly, our manager has to manage from his gut here and now and then. Because if he doesn't, you can't compete with those top teams. You got to make some good, strong moves.
Okay, first of all, we're in the weakest division in the National League, the Central. Thank God we're not in the West or the East, or we wouldn't even be 12th.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's our division's terrible. Our division's terrible. So if we can't win that division, we don't deserve to be, in the playoffs anyways.
Yeah, very, very true. Yep.
We're going to be one and done.
And what do you think of Counsell with his moves?
He's won everywhere. He's won with lesser payrolls before in Milwaukee, in a small market. I don't know. Right now, I disagree with him, but I'm still giving him a chance.
Okay.
I'm still giving him a chance. Fair enough. But I agree with you, though. You have to, you can't be by the metrics anymore like this. I mean, you gotta
pull out your gut. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta ride hot hands and and be a manager.
You know that, man. Baseball it's psychological, and if you lose that psychological edge, that could be the ball game, and it happens a lot. So those moves in the bullpen too early can just kill a team.
Yeah. Well, here, like our other day, right? Those two games, right? In 22 innings, we walked 19 guys.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is.
That's unbelievable. That's 19 hits.
Might be some nerves going on right now for some of those new players. I don't know. Yeah.
But you know what? And I hate to say it's early, but you can't lose games in April.
Yeah.
You can't lose games when you're up 4 runs in April. You just can't do it.
I got it. I hear you. Now let me switch here on you. A couple things. Do you ever get a new sandwich going? How about a This Old Cub sandwich? Little combination of a poor boy and a bomber. Is that possible?
No.
What do you mean no?
No.
Why?
No, you don't mess with perfection. You know, the bombs. There is nothing better than a bomber. Do you ever get wounded?
Do I ever get wounded?
Couple sodas, too many the night before, a little hungover. Bombers the cure-all without a prescription.
Well, yeah, back in the old days. I'll
come see the doctor.
Hey, I could scarf 2 of those bombers down with no hangover. I don't have hangovers anymore because that's not in my.
But that's when you were younger.
Yes, so here's the thing. Why I was thinking of this old Cub sandwich. I don't know. It'd be nice. I don't know. I was just thinking about it. You know, why not?
Is that like a Caesar salad with chicken? Is that what you're looking for?
No.
Huh?
Because I would either come in the Spiros. You know how many times I ate there in my youth all the way through until I left Chicago. I spent a lot of time with your dad.
Oh, yeah, you would sit there with my dad. Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
No, my dad loved you.
Oh, your dad was great, man. I'd either pick the bomber or the poor boy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the poor boy's a little bit like an Italian sandwich. So what could this old Cub sandwich be? Because my dad liked the same kind of stuff. He liked your bomber. He liked your poor boy. So what would be this old Cub? Huh?
He liked my chili.
He did like your chili. Yeah.
Yep.
So give me this old Cub sandwich. Make one up.
I'm gonna come up with one.
Awesome. And I will advertise this old Cub sandwich. Right on. Perfect. And so tell me real quick too about.
I'm going to call it the fatty.
What, the fatty? That makes no sense.
Yeah, it's going to be big, fat sandwich.
But it's called this old Cub fatty? Oh, so you're going to say this old Cub fatty?
Yeah. We're going to maybe do a corned beef pastrami. How about a combo? Corned beef pastrami, a little spicy mustard and mayo. Another little combo.
That's a little rich, maybe. It's a little rich.
Oh, sounds good to me.
A little too. All right, I'll let you come up with the sandwich. You know what you're doing there, so you don't need you nixed my bomber meet the, poor boy mix. So
yeah, no, I'm not going with that one. I think I'm gonna do the bomber combo, and I'm gonna call it the little cubby.
The little cubby.
Or the fat cubby, whatever you want to call it.
No, this old Cub. Just call it this old Cub. This is.
All right, I'll call it this old Cub.
There we go. Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, so. Yep. Now, getting the betting, what do you think of betting in baseball? I know you'd like to put down some wagers back in the day. Are you doing this whole betting thing out there?
I don't know what you're talking about.
What are you talking about?
There's no proof of anything. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right. So what do you think of the bet? Are you in with those apps, or are you old school still?
Me? I don't do anything right now. Right now I don't do anything. But I mean, in every stadium though,
yeah.
I mean, you could place a wager on any game. It's crazy to me.
Do you think it's good?
No.
Neither do I.
No.
Yeah.
No. I think it's bad for our society. Yeah. I think it's bad for our society.
What about was it bad for you in the society when you were doing that? So.
Yeah, but everything was on the hush.
True.
Now everything.
What do you think? Yeah.
Now everything's in public, and you know what I mean. And you got kids, and as long as you're over 18 and all this other stuff, it's crazy. With that FanDuel and all that other stuff, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree, man. Because you don't know what kids are going to blow everything on that. Yeah. So.
Correct. And then how about even hassling college athletes, for missing shots or whatever. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. It is kind of crazy. I haven't touched it either, and it just seems like, wow, once you get in there, you don't lay off because there's so many things you can bet on, right? How many pitches?
Well, that's what it is, and they're open 24/7. So It's like you have Vegas in your phone.
Yeah, right. So you're out completely. You're old schooled out yourself. You're not even new school at all.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
But let's
talk about Spiro's. Spiro's is moving down by the railroad tracks in Glenview. What's the date on that?
Downtown Glenview. We're going to be moving sometime this summer. End of the summer. Building's coming down tomorrow, and it's very exciting. Glenview and Harlem, right in downtown Glenview. The village of Glenview has done an unbelievable job trying to revitalize the downtown. As you know, we never had a downtown.
Right.
And I mean, now it's making it to be like a place to go. There's going to be 5 major restaurants along Glenview Road, and it's exciting.
That's
things
great,
are really happening. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm lucky to be a part of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. You're talking when now is the date, like, you think that you're going to be opening there?
So at the end of the summer, I'll know more. Wow. Like I said, they're taking down the building tomorrow. I go in front of Village Hall on April 9th, and then hopefully start the process that following week.
Okay, cool. And how many how many years have you had Spiro's with your dad being there? How many years has it been now?
We're on our 59th year.
That's amazing. Your dad got in the store. Do the math. 60. Yeah.
66.
Anyway. 66.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yep.
All right, buddy. I'll let you go. I know you got to roll.
Mo.
Unbelievable.
I miss you.
Miss you too. Tell the boys baseball's ready to go. I can't wait to follow their careers to the next level.
Tommy's a freshman at Glenbrook South. And then Michael's playing for top tier 2029s. It's a great organization, and they do a hell of a job. They should be one of the top teams in the state this year. Yeah, very lucky.
Can't wait to get the videos of the home runs. That's amazing.
No,
hey, man. All right, tell Sarah we said hello. Love you, pal. I'll be talking to you soon. Thanks for taking the crackerjack.
Hey, best of all the best, Jeff. Say hello to your lovely wife, and I'll talk to you soon. Say hello to your mom.
Right. I will, buddy.
Love you, buddy.
I will. Love you, pal. All right.
Talk to you.
See you, brother. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to our show. Special thanks to our cool crackerjacks, Scott Nelson, Jim McCauley, Debbie Foley, Sherry Matarisi, Terry O'Brien, Gary Tallman, Anne-Marie Pascule, Jim Mule-Schlago, Mac McPhillamy, and Liz Rutherford.
This show is made possible because of them and all of our subscribers. If you want to support the show and be a cool crackerjack yourself, subscribe on our Patreon page, click the link below this episode, or go to the Patreon tab on our website, www.peanutspopcornandcrackerjacks.com.
And leave a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify.
And don't hesitate to write. Give us suggestions. Tell us how you're liking the show. Email jeff.ppcpodcast@gmail.com.
For my closing quote, the secret is to have a sense of yourself, your real self, your unique self, and not just once in a while or once a day, but all through the day, the week, and life. Bill Murray.
Toodaloo! At santofilms.com, we offer a diverse range of products, including indie films, movie posters, books, music, and related merchandise. Check out our new This Old Cub apparel and podcast merchandise. Or delve into the pages of Ravens in the Rain, a twisty tale about a woman with a past and a man with no future. Or immerse yourself in the soundtrack from the original motion picture Jake's Corner, featuring 5 original songs by B.J. Thomas and the film score by award-winning songwriter Steve Dorff. Enjoy free shipping on all orders of $40 or more. Use the code PODCAST at checkout. Support small business. Visit www.santofilms.com. And while you're there, click the link for the Ron Santo official website. We've got a retro-inspired Ron Santo fan club shirt, Ron Santo pizzeria shirts, and signature apparel. Go to www.santofilms.com.